Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take, overwhelmed by the weight of life's struggles? Maybe you've faced moments where the path ahead seemed unclear, where doubts crept in, and you longed for peace, for guidance, for a sense of security. It's in those times that we often seek something, anything, that will give us clarity, hope, and comfort. And that's where Psalm 23 speaks so deeply to our hearts. Let me ask you this. What would it mean for you to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that someone greater than any human leader, someone with more love and care than we could ever imagine, is walking beside you every step of the way? That's the promise we find in Psalm 23. It begins with a simple yet profound statement: "The Lord is my shepherd." Just those words alone have the power to transform our perspective, to shift our focus from fear to faith, from confusion to clarity. When David wrote this psalm, he wasn't just offering a beautiful poetic prayer. He was declaring a truth that resonated deep within his soul, a truth that echoes through the centuries and speaks to us today. The Lord is my shepherd isn't just a nice idea. It's a life-changing reality. For David, being a shepherd himself gave him a unique understanding of the role God plays in our lives. As a shepherd cares for and guides his sheep, so does God care for and guide us. It's a relationship built on trust, on protection, and on unwavering faith. I want to take a moment to reflect on that relationship. What does it mean for God to be our shepherd? It's not just a title or a metaphor. It's an invitation to trust, to rest in his care, and to lean into his guidance. You see, when David declares, "The Lord is my shepherd," he's speaking from a place of personal experience. He knew the intimate care of a shepherd, the way a shepherd watches over his flock, leads them to green pastures, and protects them from harm. That's what God offers us. A life led by his wisdom, guided by his love, and protected by his strength. As we journey through this psalm together, I want to invite you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, do I trust God as my shepherd? Do I believe that he's guiding me, protecting me, and providing for me? Or do I find myself seeking guidance elsewhere, relying on my own understanding, or feeling lost and abandoned? These are deep questions, but they're worth exploring because the answers can change everything. Psalm 23 isn't just a comfort for the weary or the brokenhearted. It's a declaration of faith. It's a reminder that no matter where we are or what we're facing, we have a shepherd who is more than capable of leading us to safety, to peace, and to a life of purpose. And as we dig deeper into this psalm, I hope you'll begin to see how the Lord as your shepherd can change the way you walk through life. Part 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Have you ever stopped to think about what it really means when we say, "The Lord is my shepherd"? We've all heard those words 1,000 times, perhaps in church or during a time of prayer. But what does it truly mean to call God our shepherd? This isn't just some religious title or a nice way of describing God. No, it's a deep, personal declaration. The Lord isn't just an all-powerful ruler who is far removed from us. He is my shepherd. He is the one who watches over me, cares for me, and leads me. When David wrote this psalm, he was not just talking about a God who sits on a distant throne. He was talking about a God who actively shepherds his people, a God who is right here with us, guiding us through every part of life. David himself had been a shepherd. He understood the deep responsibility that came with caring for a flock, how each sheep needed personal attention, how they were vulnerable without someone to guide them, and how a shepherd had to be both strong and compassionate to keep them safe. And so, when David says, "The Lord is my shepherd," he's speaking from experience. He knows exactly what that kind of care looks like. What does it mean for us then, to have the Lord as our shepherd? It means we are never alone. It means that no matter where life takes us, we have someone who is watching over us, making sure we're safe, providing for our needs, and leading us to places where we can rest. When life feels uncertain, when the road ahead is unclear, we can find comfort in knowing that the shepherd is there, guiding us step by step. We don't have to figure it all out on our own. We don't have to carry the burden of every decision, every worry, or every fear. The Lord is with us, guiding us like a loving shepherd leading his sheep to green pastures. But here's the key: it requires faith. Trusting God as our shepherd is not always easy, especially when we can't see the whole picture. It's in those moments, when the path is rocky or the future is uncertain, that we need to remember that the shepherd knows the way. He's been there before, and he will guide us through. He's not just sitting back and watching us struggle. He's actively leading us to safety, to provision, and to peace. And even when we stray off the path, he's always ready to guide us back with grace. So, I want to ask you, do you trust God as your shepherd? When life feels like a wild, untamed wilderness, do you believe that he's walking beside you, guiding you to the green pastures of his peace? Trusting the shepherd means surrendering our need to control everything and letting God lead us where he knows is best. It means finding rest in his care, knowing that he will never lead us astray. Part 2, I shall not want, provision and fulfillment. Now let's take a look at the next part of this beautiful psalm, I shall not want. These are powerful words. They speak to our deepest needs, both physical and spiritual. When David declares that he shall not want, he is acknowledging that with the Lord as his shepherd, he has everything he needs. There's no lack, there's no fear of going without. God is the provider, and he will supply all that we need. Think about that for a moment. How often do we find ourselves in a place of longing, of wanting more, whether it's more money, more success, more approval from others, or more security? The world constantly tells us that we need more, that we're not enough just as we are, and that fulfillment is found in possessions, achievements, or status. But here, David is reminding us of a truth that challenges that narrative. When we have the Lord as our shepherd, we lack nothing. What does this look like in real life? It doesn't mean we'll always have everything we want in the way we expect it. But it does mean that God will meet our deepest needs, whether it's our physical needs for food and shelter, our emotional needs for love and connection, or our spiritual needs for peace and purpose. We can rest in the assurance that God knows exactly what we need, and he will provide for us in his perfect timing and way. But there's a deeper aspect to this promise too. I shall not want is not just about material provision. It's about fulfillment in every area of our lives. We often search for fulfillment in the wrong places, trying to fill the emptiness inside with things that will never truly satisfy. But when we place our trust in God, when we allow him to be our shepherd, we discover that true fulfillment comes from knowing him, from experiencing his love, and from walking in the purpose he has for our lives. I think back to times when I've felt restless, like something was missing in my life. And I realized that the times I've been most at peace were the times I was focused on the Lord. When I allowed him to lead me, to fill me with his presence, I found that I lacked nothing. The pursuit of earthly desires faded into the background as I began to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And when I did that, everything else fell into place. This is a powerful reminder for us today. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to strive for more, to chase after things that promise happiness, but often leave us empty. But here's the good news. When we trust God as our shepherd, we don't need to chase after these things. We don't have to worry about going without. God has promised that we will lack nothing. He will meet our needs, both seen and unseen, and he will fill our lives with peace and purpose. So, let me ask you this. What are you longing for right now? What are you searching for? to satisfy that deep desire inside, I want to encourage you to turn your focus to the shepherd. When you allow him to lead your life, when you let him be the source of your fulfillment, you will find that you lack nothing. He is enough, and in him, you will find peace, provision, and contentment like you've never known before. Part 3. He makes me lie down in green pastures, rest and restoration. Let's talk about rest. In a world that never seems to stop moving, where the noise and distractions are endless, the idea of true rest can feel like a distant dream. We're constantly hustling, always working, always trying to keep up, and it can be easy to forget the importance of stopping and simply resting. But here's the truth: God, as our shepherd, wants to lead us to rest. Not just any rest, but a rest that restores our souls, a peace that comes from knowing we are fully provided for and loved. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Have you ever taken a moment to really think about what this means? It's not just about physical rest. It's about the deep, soul-refreshing rest that comes when we know we're in the care of the shepherd. Think of the green pastures, lush, peaceful, full of life. It's a picture of a place where we can lie down and be at peace, knowing that we are safe, cared for, and completely secure. That's the kind of rest God offers us. But rest isn't always easy to come by, is it? We live in a world that celebrates busyness, productivity, and constant motion. Rest can feel like a luxury, or even a sign of weakness. But in Psalm 23, we see that rest is not only a gift from God, but it's also necessary for our spiritual health. Just as the shepherd knows that the sheep need to lie down to be nourished and replenished, so do we need rest to be spiritually nourished and renewed. God doesn't just call us to work hard, He calls us to take time to rest in Him. When we find ourselves burned out, anxious, or running on empty, it's often because we've neglected this need for rest. We've forgotten that God designed us to need rest, both physically and spiritually. It's not a sign of laziness or weakness. It's a sign of trusting God to provide, knowing that He is in control, even when we stop moving. I know life can be overwhelming at times. The demands of work, relationships, and the constant pressure to be busy can weigh us down. But I want to remind you today that God is calling you to lie down in green pastures, to stop for a moment and find peace in His presence. It might feel hard to slow down, especially when there's so much to do. But true rest comes when we let go of the constant striving and surrender ourselves to God's care. God's rest is not just about stopping what we're doing. It's about finding a deep sense of peace that allows us to be still, to stop worrying, to stop striving, and to let God restore us. His rest refreshes us, heals our hearts, and brings clarity to our minds. So, I encourage you to make space for rest in your life. Take moments, even if they're brief, to stop, breathe, and allow God to restore your soul. Remember, He's not just calling you to lie down in any pastures. He's leading you to green pastures, places of peace, provision, and renewal. Part 4. He leads me beside still waters, guidance and clarity. I don't know about you, but when life feels chaotic and noisy, I long for stillness. It seems like there's always something happening, constant decisions to make, problems to solve, and an overwhelming stream of information coming at us from every direction. And in those moments, what we really crave is clarity. We want to know that we're headed in the right direction, that we're making the right choices, and that we're not just drifting through life. He leads me beside still waters. Think about that imagery for a moment. Still waters. Calm. Peaceful. Clear. It's a place where you can stop and take a deep breath, a place where the noise of the world fades away, and where you can hear the gentle voice of the shepherd leading you. The still waters represent the guidance that God offers us when we need it most. It's the clarity that comes when we listen to His voice, when we trust Him to show us the way. God, as our shepherd, knows the way to lead us to peace. He knows that we need stillness in order to hear his voice clearly, but sometimes, in our busy lives, we miss the opportunity to listen to God's guidance. We get so caught up in the noise and the rush that we forget to pause and let God lead us to those still waters of clarity. But here's the thing, God is always leading us. He's never absent. Even when it feels like we're lost in the noise of life, he's there, gently leading us beside the still waters of his peace and guidance. When you feel uncertain, when the decisions seem overwhelming, God is inviting you to come and find rest by the still waters. This isn't just about physical calm, but a deep, spiritual calm that brings clarity to our minds and hearts. It's in those moments of stillness, when we stop striving and listen, that we can hear the voice of the shepherd leading us. He's the one who shows us the way, who helps us make decisions, who gives us wisdom when we don't know what to do. This guidance doesn't always come in loud, dramatic moments. Often, it comes quietly, in the peace of our hearts, in the subtle nudges of the Holy Spirit. But when we make space for God to lead us, when we stop and allow him to take us to those still waters, we will find the clarity we need. It's not always about having all the answers or figuring everything out in our own strength. It's about trusting that God is leading us, even when we can't see the whole picture. If you find yourself in a season of confusion or uncertainty, I want to encourage you to seek the still waters. Stop, breathe, and invite God to lead you. Take time each day to be still, to listen, and to trust that he is guiding you. He knows the way, and he will never lead you astray. In the stillness, you'll find his peace. In his peace, you'll find the clarity you've been searching for. Just as the shepherd leads the sheep beside calm waters, so God is leading you to a place of rest, clarity, and guidance. Trust him to take you there. Part 5. He restores my soul, healing and transformation. If you've ever felt drained, worn out, or spiritually empty, you know how powerful the idea of restoration can be. In life, there are times when we feel like we've given all we can give, when we've faced challenges that have left us feeling broken or overwhelmed, and we wonder if we can ever be whole again. It's in these moments, when we are at our lowest, that we need to remember that God, as our shepherd, is the one who restores our souls. He restores my soul. What a powerful statement. It's not just about physical rest or a temporary reprieve from our struggles. This is deep, soul-deep restoration. It's the kind of healing that only God can provide. The kind of restoration that brings us back to life, that mends our broken hearts, and that revives our spirits when we feel like we've lost our way. God is in the business of restoration. He's not just concerned with our physical well-being or our external circumstances. He cares about the condition of our souls. When we feel lost, when we feel defeated, God comes to us with healing in his hands. And the beauty of it is that he doesn't just restore us to where we were before, he restores us to something even better. He takes our brokenness and transforms it into something new. He takes the pain of our past and turns it into a testimony of his faithfulness. Sometimes we may wonder if we're too far gone for God to restore us. Maybe we've made mistakes. Maybe we've walked through seasons of sin. Or maybe we've been hurt in ways that seem impossible to heal. But I want to remind you today that no matter what you've been through, God's restorative power is greater than your pain. His love is greater than your failures, and his healing is more powerful than any wound. God can restore your soul, no matter how broken or battered it may seem. The process of restoration may take time, and it often requires us to be open and vulnerable before God. We can't restore ourselves on our own. We need his healing touch. But as we surrender our brokenness to him, he begins the work of restoring us, transforming our hearts, renewing our minds, and bringing us back to the place of peace and wholeness. God doesn't just want to restore us for the sake of healing alone. He restores us so that we can walk in the fullness of His purpose for our lives. He restores us so that we can be a reflection of His love, grace, and power to the world around us. When God restores our souls, He's preparing us to step into the life He has designed for us, a life of purpose, joy, and service to others. So if you're feeling drained today, whether physically, emotionally, or spiritually, turn to the Shepherd. Ask Him to restore your soul. Trust that He has the power to heal, to renew, and to transform you. No matter what you've been through, God is ready to restore you. Let Him take you in His arms and heal the broken places in your heart. He is the Shepherd who restores your soul, and in Him you will find the restoration you so desperately need. Part 6. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, overcoming fear and adversity. If there's one thing that every single one of us can relate to, it's walking through difficult seasons in life. Life is full of valleys, those dark, uncertain times when we face fear, loss, or hardship. There are moments when it feels like everything around us is falling apart, when we feel overwhelmed by the weight of the world, and when the future feels uncertain. It's in those valleys, in those darkest moments, that we need to cling to the truth that God, as our Shepherd, is with us. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Those words are powerful, aren't they? They don't say that we won't walk through the valley. They say that when we do walk through it, God will be with us. Notice the key word here, through. God doesn't promise we'll never face difficult times. In fact, He promises that we will walk through valleys, but He also promises that we don't have to walk through them alone. He is with us, and because of that, we don't have to fear. Let's be real for a moment. Life can be terrifying at times. Whether it's a health crisis, the loss of a loved one, a relationship falling apart, or any other trial, fear can easily take hold. We can be consumed with anxiety, wondering how we'll make it through. But in the midst of those fears, we have a Shepherd who is walking with us, holding our hand, guiding us through the darkness. The valley of the shadow of death represents those moments in life when we face the deepest fears, the fear of death, the fear of loss, the fear of the unknown. But God has a powerful promise for us. In those times, He is with us. His presence is stronger than our fear. His power is greater than our adversities. And because He is with us, we don't need to be afraid. It's important to recognize that the valley is not the end. We are walking through it. That means it will not last forever. Valleys are seasons, not permanent places. You may be walking through a difficult time right now, but remember that God is with you, and He will lead you through it to a place of peace, restoration, and victory. The valley is not something to fear. It's something to walk through with faith. Yes, it may be dark. Yes, it may be difficult. But God is with you every step of the way, and with His presence comes comfort, strength, and hope. Just as a shepherd's rod and staff provide comfort and protection for the sheep, God's presence provides us with the comfort and strength we need to face any adversity. He is not a distant observer. He is right there with us, walking beside us, guiding us, and comforting us. In those moments of fear, when you don't know how you're going to make it, turn to the Shepherd. Lean on His presence. Trust that He is walking with you, and that He will carry you through. You don't have to face the valley alone. You don't have to be consumed by fear. With God as your shepherd, you can walk through any dark valley with the assurance that He is with you, leading you to the other side. Part 7. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me, protection and guidance. When life feels uncertain or dangerous, one of the things we most desire is to know that we are protected. In a world that seems increasingly unpredictable, we long for a sense of security and assurance that we are safe. In Psalm 23, David speaks of God's protection in a way that speaks to the deepest needs of our hearts. He says, "Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." But what do these two items, the rod and the staff, mean, and how do they offer us comfort? In the ancient world, the rod and staff were essential tools for a shepherd. The rod was typically a short, heavy club that the shepherd used to protect the flock. It was used to ward off predators, to defend the sheep against wolves, lions, or other threats. The staff, on the other hand, was a longer curved stick used to guide the sheep, to pull them back onto the right path, and to provide a gentle nudge when they wandered astray. Together, these two tools represented both protection and guidance. What's beautiful about this imagery is that it shows us that God doesn't just guide us, He also protects us. He doesn't just lead us along the right path, He also fights on our behalf when danger threatens. And that is an incredible source of comfort. It means that no matter what dangers we face in life, no matter what fears or challenges come our way, we have a shepherd who is powerful enough to defend us. His rod is there to protect us from harm, and His staff is there to gently lead us when we go astray. I want to encourage you to take comfort in this truth. Today, God is not passive in His care for you. He is actively protecting you, guiding you, and watching over you. There may be times when life feels overwhelming, when we're confronted with situations that feel too big or too scary to handle. But remember that God's protection is greater than any threat we face. The rod and the staff represent God's active role in keeping us safe, and they are a constant reminder that we are never alone in our battles. But protection doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes, we might be wondering why certain things are happening, why we are facing challenges, or why we have to walk through difficult situations. But just as the shepherd uses the rod to protect the sheep from unseen dangers, God may be using challenges in our lives to refine us, to grow our faith, and to lead us to a place of deeper trust in Him. So the next time you face a challenge or fear, remember that God is protecting you with His rod, and He is guiding you with His staff. He is with you in every situation, and His presence is a comfort that no danger or adversity can take away. Rest in the assurance that the shepherd is actively protecting and guiding you. Part 8. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, victory and abundance. We've walked through the beautiful imagery of the shepherd's care, protection, and guidance. But now, let's look at one of the most powerful statements in Psalm 23. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is a striking image. God preparing a feast for His people, not in some safe, serene setting far away from danger, but in the very presence of our enemies. What does that mean? In the midst of trials, difficulties, and opposition, God offers us a table, a place of abundance, provision, and celebration. This is not a small meal of survival, but a lavish feast prepared by the shepherd himself. It's a symbol of God's provision, even in the midst of our struggles. When we're facing enemies, whether literal or metaphorical, God is not only providing for us, but preparing something beautiful and bountiful for us, a sign that He is sovereign over our circumstances. This image is both comforting and challenging. It's comforting because it reminds us that God doesn't wait for the danger to pass before He blesses us. He doesn't say, "I'll take care of you once the storm is over." No, He prepares a feast right in front of our enemies. God's provision is not limited by our circumstances. His abundance is not held back by the challenges we face. Even in the face of opposition, we can sit at His table and receive the fullness of His blessings. But there's also something deeply powerful about this imagery. The presence of the enemies highlights the victory that God gives us. He doesn't just help us survive our trials, He empowers us to thrive in them. To have a table set before us in the presence of our enemies is a declaration that God's blessings are stronger than any opposition we face. It's a statement that no matter what enemies, difficulties, or challenges try to rise against us, they cannot steal the feast that God has prepared for us. In our daily lives, this may look like God giving us peace when we are surrounded by anxiety, joy in the middle of sorrow, or provision when we are facing lack. It may look like God offering us strength and courage when we feel weak, or wisdom and clarity when we feel confused. In the presence of our enemies, whether they are fears, doubts, challenges, or adversities, God prepares a feast of grace, love, and peace that can never be taken away. What's even more amazing is that this feast doesn't just symbolize God's provision for us here on earth. It points to the eternal banquet that awaits us in heaven, where we will feast with the Lord forever, free from every enemy, every struggle, and every fear. The table prepared before us in the presence of our enemies is a reminder that God's victory is already secured, and the ultimate feast is waiting for us in His presence. So, when life feels like it's closing in, when the enemies seem to surround you, remember this powerful truth: God is preparing a table for you. You don't have to wait for the storm to pass to experience His provision and blessings. Right in the middle of your struggles, He is offering you abundance, peace, and joy. No enemy, no challenge, no fear can steal what God has prepared for you. Trust in His provision and His victory, and take your seat at His table. The Shepherd is providing for you right now, in the presence of all that tries to oppose you. Part 9. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. God's faithfulness and everlasting love. We've journeyed through Psalm 23 together, looking at how God, as our shepherd, leads us, provides for us, restores us, and protects us. But there's one last powerful truth in this psalm that I want to dive into. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Can you just pause and think about that for a moment? Goodness and mercy are following you. Not only are they following you, but they will follow you all the days of your life. This is not a temporary promise. It's an eternal one. No matter where you go, no matter where life takes you, you have the assurance that God's goodness and mercy are right behind you, ready to catch you when you fall, ready to bless you, and ready to pour out His love on you. Let's take a look at these two words, goodness and mercy, and see what they mean for us. Goodness speaks to the kindness and favor of God. It's the blessings, the things we don't deserve but receive anyway, because of His love. Goodness is God's provision, His care, His love that never fails. When we walk through life, we can trust that His goodness is always with us. Even when we face difficulties, we can be certain that God's goodness is still present, working behind the scenes to bring about His best for us. Mercy, on the other hand, is God's compassionate forgiveness, His grace that doesn't give us what we deserve, but instead offers us love, healing, and restoration. Mercy is what covers us when we've fallen short, when we've made mistakes, when we've sinned. It's the assurance that no matter what we've done, God's mercy will follow us and cover us. His mercy is not a one-time act. It is continually extended to us, moment by moment, day by day. Together, goodness and mercy are the twin pillars of God's faithfulness. They are a reminder that no matter what we face, God's favor and forgiveness are always at work in our lives. They follow us, pursue us, and never leave us. And they are the guarantee that we are never abandoned, never forgotten, and never outside the reach of God's love. This verse is a beautiful reminder that God's faithfulness doesn't depend on our own actions. It's not about being perfect or always getting things right. It's about a God who is so full of love and grace that He promises to be with us, to shower us with His goodness and mercy, no matter what. All the days of our lives, through every season, every trial, and every joy, His goodness and mercy will follow us. Imagine that for a moment. God's goodness and mercy aren't something we have to earn. They are gifts that He freely gives. They are always following us, not just today, but for the rest of our lives. And when life gets tough, when we feel like we've messed up or lost our way, we can take comfort in knowing that His goodness and mercy are right there, leading us, healing us, and carrying us. I don't know what you're going through right now, but I do know this: you have God's goodness and mercy following you. No matter what happens, no matter where you go, His faithfulness will be with you, and His love will never fail. This is a promise that we can stand on, knowing that God will always be there to bless, forgive, and restore us. Conclusion: and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, the hope of eternal life. As we come to the end of Psalm 23, we find one final glorious promise: and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. After everything we've seen, the Lord is our shepherd, the provision, the restoration, the protection, the guidance, the feast in the presence of our enemies. This final line ties it all together. It points to something far greater than just the here and now. It points to the eternal home that awaits us in God's presence. David ends this psalm with the assurance of eternal life with God. This is the ultimate promise for every believer, that we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. No matter what we face in this life, no matter how difficult the journey may be, we can look forward to the eternal reward that God has prepared for us. Heaven is our ultimate home, and the Lord's presence is where we will find true fulfillment and joy. This is not just a future hope. It's a present reality that gives us peace today. Knowing that we have an eternal home in God's presence allows us to live with confidence, even in the midst of trials. We are not living for this world alone. Our hope is anchored in the promise of heaven, where there will be no more pain, no more suffering, no more tears. We will be in the perfect presence of our shepherd, surrounded by His love and peace. As you reflect on this psalm, I want to encourage you to hold fast to the hope of eternal life. Whatever you're going through right now, whatever challenges you face, remember that this world is not all there is. The Lord is preparing a place for you, a place where you will dwell with Him forever, in perfect peace. This is the ultimate comfort, the ultimate promise, and the ultimate victory. When we experience life's difficulties, it's easy to get caught up in the moment, to focus on the struggles we face today. But Psalm 23 reminds us that there's something far greater awaiting us. The Good Shepherd has not only provided for us here on earth, but He has also secured for us an eternal home with Him. That's the ultimate provision, the ultimate peace, and the ultimate rest. So as you walk through this life, remember that the Shepherd is with you every step of the way. He will guide you, protect you, and provide for you. And in the end, He will bring you into His house, where you will dwell with Him forever. What a beautiful, eternal hope we have in Him. Trust in the Shepherd, rest in His care, and look forward to the glorious future He has prepared for you. Let us live with that eternal perspective, knowing that His goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives, and that one day we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What a beautiful truth to hold on to as we walk through this life. May this psalm encourage you today, and may it remind you of the great love and faithfulness of the Good Shepherd.